Yeah, thanks for coming. My name is Christian. I run Playfair Audio, and if your brains aren't fried by now, in the last slot of the day, I will try to do something about it. Um, I'll talk a bit about benchmarking and with a focus on like the worst case in a real-time scenario. So quick recap of the real-time audio problem. Let's assume we have like a 64 block size at 48 kilohertz. That means we get chunks of about 1.3 milliseconds of audio, and we get those about every 1.3 milliseconds. And we need to supply some result before it's due to be played back, right? So some kind of normalization that we can do then is to say, okay, if our code takes 1.3 milliseconds to produce 1.3 milliseconds of audio, we call that 100% CPU load. But it wouldn't make sense to aim for like having this 100% load. We need to take into account some overhead that's happening and also some kind of safety margin, and we'll talk about what this safety margin needs to be really. And that could also be something like what I call a product management margin. You might be a plugin, and then you might say, okay, I can't sell this plugin if it takes more than 5% CPU on some kind of reference machine that you have in mind. But okay, let's go on and try to measure something, and with the goal in mind, how do we really know we're always going to deliver the audio on time, and how can we be kind of confident about this? So first thing that comes to mind, we'll just benchmark this by running like 30 seconds or whatever amount of audio worth of samples through an algorithm and measure the time it takes. And then we could start out by taking an average. And here I have some algorithm stuff that does a lot of things. And on some reference machine, it takes on average 24.5% CPU. Which seems fine for now. If it's a standalone application, it's a quarter of a core. That's 12 dB of headroom. This seems okay. But we don't really know. We have some idea. Maybe it doesn't always take these 24.5%, because what it really is is a random process. So the code doesn't always take the same amount of time. There are some things that are in the algorithm, like branching. We have to do something every X samples, or we need from time to time process some events in some queue. So not every process call will take the same time. But there are also other sources of randomness that are not in the algorithm itself, something that the CPU does as optimizations in order to kind of do things faster. Like caching, if you miss the cache, some things will take longer, and this can be random at times how often this happens. And also CPUs do all kinds of magic to get basically the average time of execution down, but all kinds of things happen for this to go wrong, like pipelines flushing or branch prediction that doesn't always work like it should, and then you have a lot of randomness. So if we have randomness, we can try to answer the question, okay, how random is it? How strong is the variation? And first idea that might come to mind is to compute something like a standard deviation. In this case, we have 0.4% standard deviation. Intuitively, we would think, okay, that means that most of the time we're within this range of the mean, which would mean, okay, it's between 24 and 25% most of the time. So that seems pretty good, seems pretty stable. Not a lot of variation to worry about, but to be sure, let's look at the range that we really see there and compute the maximum amount we have. 31.8%. That seems a lot compared to the standard deviation that we've seen. somehow this seems weird. We just said, okay, we would expect most of the time to have like 24 to 25%, maybe with a few outliers at 26%, 27%, but 31.8% seems like a lot. And it doesn't really check out with the standard deviation. So let's do a quick sanity check. If we would assume like a Gaussian normal distribution, we can check how high is the probability of hitting this maximum value here. And it's 18.9 standard deviations above the mean, and that would mean it should never happen. So here's the age of the universe in comparison. So that's several universes it would normally take, but we've only processed like 30 seconds of audio. So something doesn't really make sense. And it also hints at these 31.8% we've seen through these 30 seconds. Is this really the maximum we'll ever see? What happens if we run this code for 30 minutes or 30 hours? Will we find the maximum to be like 32, 33% or something totally out there? We don't really know. So at this point, it's probably better to try and look at the whole data instead of these aggregate measures. And if you know my stuff, you might know that one way to look at it is a histogram, and I love histograms. I built a whole product around that. So it's a great way of looking at data and statistics and getting an idea of what the random distribution really looks like, right? So let's do this for these benchmark measurements here. About 30 seconds worth of audio. So we have this histogram, and there are like two peaks. That's interesting. So probably two code paths that are run most of the time, which take like two different amounts of time. Then some variation around it. And then a lot of nothing. But we know that to the far right of this graph, there must be at least one sample. And if we zoom in, we'll find some scattered samples in this range between 26 and 32%. But it doesn't really let us gain any information about what does the distribution really look like there, because there's just not enough data. And that is because we don't have like a normal distribution here. We have what is called like a fat-tailed distribution, which means that the rare outcomes can have an outsized magnitude. So the variance may appear low, but at some point it suddenly isn't. And you can find this kind of behavior in things like flooding or in stock market crashes or other kinds of catastrophes. And the thing is, for a normal distribution, the probability of exceeding a certain value goes down really fast. It goes down exponentially. For a fat-tailed distribution, it goes down as a power law function, which can be quite a bit slower. So the decay is pretty slow. So here's another way to look at the data, another way to plot the actual samples, and this is called a ZIPS plot. Basically, what it does is it assigns to each sample or computes the probability in this data set of seeing a value greater or equal to this. And then you plot it on a log-log scale. And if you have a power law on a log-log scale, it becomes a straight line. And that's what we see at the right. That's the fat tail, basically. It becomes a straight line. And yeah, here's the basic idea of how to generate this, just a short Python code to compute the data to display here. if you have this, you can also fit a straight line to this log plot, and you can get the slope of it, which is called basically the tail index, which kind of says how fast does the probability go down towards higher values. And you can also use this to compute the probability actually of reaching a certain level. For example, 100%. You can compute the probability and then figure out, okay, how often could I really expect this kind of value? And if we do this with this data, we find it has a tail index of 35.6, which is pretty high. That means the probability decays really fast, which is good. And if we compute the frequency of glitches we should expect from this data, that would mean once every several ages of the universe. So I think with this we can be really confident it will never happen, hopefully. Yeah. But not all processes are like this, because we have the deadly sins of audio programming we hear about all the time here. Things like preemption, memory allocation, all the things we shouldn't be doing, and sometimes we actually accidentally do them. And this can have a pretty heavy effect on how such a random process kind of behaves. So here's a different version of the algorithm, and I built in a few deadly sins. And if we look at the data, okay, the mean is 15.6. It's even lower. So that's kind of good, even more headroom. The standard deviation is a bit more, but it doesn't seem outsized, but we know it's already that it's a useless number. The max seems worrying, but what's really worrying is the tail index of 4.4. So this means this is really fat-tailed. This is almost stock market crash territory. So better not bet your fortune on it. And then we can compute the glitch frequency again, and it's we can expect this to happen once every 11.9 minutes on average. And that's something we probably don't want to have. And yeah, so to kind of wrap this up, so we've seen that the standard deviation and even computing the maximum is almost completely useless. It can show us that there is something we probably need to really look at. And one way to do this is using this ZIPS plot and estimate the tail index. And then we can kind of detect if there's any serious issue. If the tail index is too low, we can see, okay, there's something really bad going on probably. And if it's really high, we can kind of use that to kind of go to sleep at night very well and confirm and be confident that this is really real-time safe and we won't get angry calls from customers. One thing about that method, though, is that doing it with this ZIPS plot, it kind of needs some manual supervision. You can't completely do it off data without looking at the plot and making sure it really makes sense and the line fitting really fits the data. But there are also more complex methods that don't fit now. But I've written some search keywords for you. So this is kind of the very surface of something called extreme value theory, which kind of deals with predicting the frequency of catastrophes and those kinds of things for these fat-tailed distributions, power laws. So that's kind of the keywords you can look after if you're interested in this. Or you can also come talk to me and we can have a chat about this. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn or check out my company. So let's talk and say hello. And yeah, Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming.